Hi guys, welcome back to the Library of Alexandria, and today I am going to continue to talk about the books that I hauled or hauled last year, early this year. I've just been really slow at filming these book hauls. I filmed a part one of this, I don't know, last month or something, so I'm going to keep going with this until I finally catch up for all the books I've got. My book buying and gifting has slowed recently, so hopefully I will be able to finish this out pretty soon. This is not the only one of these. I don't know how many there's going to be, but I'm going to do another 20 or so here. So without wasting any more time,
Let's get down to business.
let's begin the book haul. Now, again, my favorite part of Howls is holding up a book and, you know, I've read the back. Maybe I read the back recently, maybe I read it when I first got it, and just saying, hey, this is what this book's about, and then, you know, you read it and you're like, that's not even kind of what the book's about, as people in the comments are always like, no, it's not even kind of about that, Alan, you fool, and so that's always fun, and I always like watching other people do it when I'm like, no, you didn't even get it close. So, I mean, we all cannot have the spot-on accuracy for the Grishaverse that I have when identifying what the plot of those books was about. I was 100% accurate, but not everybody has the accuracy ratio that I do. So let's go ahead and start this off with Boosh Swordspoint by Ellen Kushner. So I keep wanting to call this book Swordpoint, and look at this cover. Like, look at this cover. I gotta cover my face. Look at the cover. Look at it! There we go. Look at that cover. So this cover is... like, I would never pick this book up by its cover. It looks very, like, old and, you know, not good. But I heard about the opening of this book where there's, like, a single drop of blood in, like, the snow. And, you know, George R.R. Martin flips out about it because he loves it. And, you know, read the back. It is a melodrama of manners filled with scintillating wit and elegant writing. And I like all three of those things. So I just picture this as kind of like, you know, noble houses. It's like Renaissance times where everybody settled everything by a duel. I think there's fencing in it. It's called Swordspoint. I'm fairly certain there's fencing. And, you know, like, oh, are you wearing that to the party? Oh, look, oh, he's eating with the left fork instead of the right one. What a cad. And, you know, things like that. That's what I picture it, but also sword fighting. It just seems like right up my alley, especially after reading things like K.J. Parker's Folding Knife. I think I'm going to like this one, so hopefully I'll be able to get to it soon. Also, it must be said, these are the best kinds of mass market paperbacks, the ones that are, like, really floppy. Like, they need to add the flop to more MMPBs. And I don't know, I have one other book that does this. Most MMPBs are much tighter binding than this, but I really like the fact that this is floppy. Next on the list, Boosh, this hefty beast. The Ember Blade by Chris Whitting. So, you might have recognized this book from when I did the Blindfold Book Challenge 2 and got this on a wing and a prayer at the very, after sitting with it for forever. I finally remembered that I had this book. And this book is apparently about a blade that is ember. It is a blade that is on fire, I hope. I hope it's about a blade that's on fire. Maybe a red sword. A flaming sword, something to that effect. From everything I have heard that this book is very kind of traditional. I know Sarah just did a review on her channel that talked it up, and she really liked it and made me want to read it even more. And so this is high praise from people whose opinions that I actually like, that have interesting opinions, and that aren't just, you know, the opinions of the hoi polloi. And so, I don't know. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to get to this soon. I love this cover. I don't know what it's about. It's about a guy named Aaron and his best friend, Cade. Like, you can't have a fantasy book with a guy named Aaron, A-R-E-N, and then have his best friend be Cade, who plays football for my high school. Like, I don't know. They get thrown in prison, and then they escape from prison, and they probably go on a quest. Again, I've heard this has a classic feel. I am excited to read this because I have heard nothing but good things. So I'll be reading this hopefully pretty soon. Next, we have Boosh, the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis. This was gifted to me by my wonderful friend, Claire. She is my wife's best friend, and I love her also. She's amazing. I got this for my birthday from Claire. And this is science fiction by C.S. Lewis, which I have never read. I've only read his Narnia books and some of his nonfiction. This book is about a guy, a scientist, the adventures of the remarkable Dr. Ransom. And Dr. Ransom is abducted by, and it says right here in the back of the book, he's abducted by a megalomaniacal physicist. What? He's abducted by a megalomaniacal physicist? Sign me up. That sounds awesome. And I wonder if the megalomaniacal physicist holds him for ransom. That's dumb. I bet everyone who's ever read this has made that joke. Anyway, I don't know what this is about, but it's 3 books in one. It's Out of the Silent Planet, Paralandra, and That Hideous Strength, which is a cool title for a book. But it's, written by C.S. Lewis, science fiction. I have no idea what this is about, but I am hoping to read this. I've heard really good things from Claire and from Christy over at Christy Lewis at Dostoevsky in Space, and also my friend Mary also really swear by this book. So hopefully I'll be able to read this pretty soon as well, especially when I keep dipping into sci-fi. Next up we have Boosh, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. So this book was gifted to me by my wonderful friend and patron, Wendy, and this book, so apparently there's this classics professor that, lures a bunch of misfits into talking about classics, and then somehow it turns them evil, which just sounds super exciting, which I think is why this book was gifted to me. And also, author of the Pulitzer Prize winning Goldfinch is Donna Tartt here. But I have heard mixed things about this book. Some people really like it, and then some people hate it and say it's super, super pretentious. I have heard this is filled with classical references, Greek and Roman stuff, and probably leans heavily, I haven't even read it, but I guarantee you it leans heavily into freaking Plato and the Republic, and I hate Plato, guys. Plato was a tarted up wrestler who, should have stayed wrestling and stayed out of the classroom, because you know what, Plato, your theory of forms sucks. No one believes it came from Socrates. The theory of forms is stupid. Aristotle was better than you, and the Lyceum is better than the Academy. You hear that, Plato? Suck it.
But the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
So I don't know if I'm going to like this, especially if it's riddled heavily with Plato. Socrates and Aristotle are fine. Not a fan of Plato. But is this dark academia? Is that what this is? Is the classics professor going to be the villain? Like, is this an alternate history of my life? Is it the secret history of my life? I have no idea, but I'm definitely going to read this, because anything that's about the classics, that's fiction, I'm kind of about, but I don't really know what this is going to be about. So next we have Boosh, Tagana by Guy Gavriel Kay. This was gifted to me by the wonderful Evie, who is amazing and incredibly generous. And this book was actually voted on, so every couple of months I have my patrons put forth books that they want me to read, and I choose 3 of them out of that, and I spin the random wheel, choosing 3 out of that long list, and then they vote on which one they want me to read. Well, this time, Tagana won by a long shot of the 3 that were up there, but everyone else wanted to jump on and read it as well. So it's not just me reading it, it's a patron buddy read next month in June. And it is it's pretty long. It's a chonker, like 650 pages or something. So I have heard nothing but good things about Guy Gavriel Kay's kind of prose and his writing. I know that my friend Elle is not a huge fan, because apparently there is a lot of, sexy times, and I think someone read this recently and said it was it Jake? I think Jake read it recently and said it was a super horny book. So, like, there's lots of people thinking about, doing it, which is, it's not necessary, but we'll see. I don't know. I do have a threshold of too much, so we'll see if this defeats if it passes that threshold. This book is about a country called Tagana, and no one can call it Tagana anymore because it has been conquered, and it's literally against the law to say its name. It doesn't even have a name. Its name has been damnatio memoriae from history. No one knows it's called Tagana anymore, and there are wizards, and none of them are named Tagana. So I don't know what this is about, but I'm excited to read it. Jake had really good things to say about it. Most people that I've heard have read this like this. I've really heard mostly good things about his writing, so I'll be reading this next month. Next is Boosh, SPQR, The King's Gambit by John Maddox Roberts. So, this was sent to me by my wonderful friend, Katrina, and I've been wanting to read something like this for a while. Like, it's less than 300 pages. This is yet another mystery book, but this one is a historical mystery book taking place in ancient Rome. There are not enough fantasy books that take place in Rome. This isn't fantasy either, but at least it's like the detective is a Roman, and that's just exciting to me. Like, anything that can get kind of the verisimilitude of Rome while solving a mystery is okay in my book. So I like that the cover's a mosaic. The binding is really weird, but I do like this book. It's the first one in a series, and again, under 300 pages. So I want to see who's this detective? The detective is Decius Caecilius Metellus the Younger, and he's highborn commander of the local watchmen, the Weagles. So I'm eager to see what kind of crimes old Metellus the Younger is going to solve. I want to read this. Like, if y'all are interested in reading, like, some Roman mystery books, let me know and I'll move it up. Next on the list, we have Boosh, My Cousin Rachel Weiss, by Daphne du Maurier. So, I read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and I really, really liked it. And then I read Jamaica Inn by du Maurier, and I did not really like it, because one can only listen to descriptions of the Moors and drunken pirates. Not even pirates, like lame pirates, like drunken highwaymen. So much. It was boring. It was boring. The last 50 pages, however, are something out of a Lovecraft novel and were terrifying and just excellent. Like, I am glad I read Jamaica Inn, if just for the last 50 pages. Like, that was awesome. But this is her other most famous novel besides Rebecca. And that is My Cousin Rachel, about her cousin, Rachel, and I think she's evil, or she's involved with evil, like her ex-husband was evil. Let me see. Oh, yeah, Rachel's evil, or Philip must decide if she's evil. I hate that I have this cover. Like, I like my Rebecca and Jamaica Inn covers much better. They're like the classy ones that kind of go together. This is now a major motion picture with freaking Rachel Weisz's face on the cover. Like, I don't need this. I don't know why they even make a binding like this. I don't like it. I don't like this. Anyway, I like Daphne du Maurier. She is the most readable classic books that I've found, really. She has that kind of classic way of writing, but it doesn't ever feel super dense. So I read her books pretty fast, because I don't get bogged down in the prose the way you do freaking Dickens, who paid by the word, and everyone knows it, Charles. So yeah, I'm excited to read this one as well. I read Jamaica Inn with Leanna and Mara over at Books Like Woe, and it was really fun. Next, we have Boosh, A Time of Dread by John Gwynne. Book 1 of the Blood and Bone trilogy, of Blood and Bone, which is his second trilogy in the Banished Land. This book was a gift from my wonderful, wonderful friend, Sharon, who may be the most generous person that I've ever met in my entire life. So this continues, I think it's like 100 years later after the end of Wrath, and begins, a new trilogy. And I can't really say a whole ton because that would spoil kind of the ending of Wrath, but there's something that's kind of some loose threads that are left, and it looks like it's going to pick it up from there. I have heard that this only follows like 3 or 4 characters instead of the massive amounts of characters that the Faithful and the Fallen follows. And one of them, I think Drem, is on the spectrum. And so we have autism spectrum representation, which is awesome. You don't see that a ton in fantasy books. I am super, super excited to read this. I know that Abby and Petrick and Alex and Philip want to get together and collaborate like we did for the Faithful and the Fallen. I am not sure I am going to be able to jump on board of that because I have, unfortunately, committed myself to way too many things now that I've taken over shelf space and finishing the read-along in the Discord with Feb Rising, as well as, so many other things that I've committed to that I'm not 100% certain I'm going to be able to get to this when they are doing it, which means I'll be left out in the cold like the kid who was never invited to any high school parties. And that would be sad. But I'm hoping to read this soon because I love John Gwynne. I loved Faithful and the Fallen. I'm hoping this is just as good. Next, we have Boosh, Calibans War by James S.A. Corey. This is book 2 of the Expanse series, of which Leviathan Wakes is the first one. This is from Deanna. Thank you so much, Deanna. I have not actually read Leviathan Wakes yet, but I want to. And I want to because James S.A. Corey, one of the authors that comprises James S.A. Corey, is the incomparable Daniel Abraham. And after reading The Long Price Quartet, I want to read everything Daniel Abraham has ever written. I love The Long Price Quartet. I'm telling you, you should be reading The Long Price Quartet, the story that is told over those 4 books, the 4 books which really equal less than or right at what one Stormlight book is. They're so good. Just read all 4 of those books and you will come away a changed human. So I'm assuming this continues the space opera that is in Leviathan Wakes. I cannot talk about what this is about because I have not I have not read Leviathan Wakes, but it's a continuation. I want to read all of these books. I'm glad that the ninth and final book is coming out this year, so that I can just, as soon as I'm able, as soon as I finish up some of these current series I'm reading, I can try to binge the Expanse, or at least read one a month. Next up, we have Boosh! The Furies of Calderon by Jim Butcher. So this is the UK cover. It is super floppy binding. And I have the UK cover, even though the thing I don't like about UK covers is your freaking paperback covers are stiff as a board. Why are these covers so hard? But I got this because if you have the American Furies of Calderon paperback, it is one of those freaking inexcusable, uncalled for Frankensteinian abominations that is too freaking tall and too freaking skinny. It's not wide enough and it's too tall. It's not the size of a normal paperback like this one is. I don't know why they do that, but all of Butcher's American paperbacks are that horrible size. So I'm not doing it. So I just went ahead and ordered the UK paperback. So this book, apparently he wrote because someone challenged him that he couldn't combine ancient Rome and Pokemon. So apparently the Romans have Pokemon, or they have like these monsters they catch or something like that. Like, I know it has things like Princeps and Praetor and, you know, Roman offices, which is freaking awesome. I'm actually almost more excited to read this than the rest of the Dresden Files, but I mean, I want to read the Dresden Files as well. So I really am excited to read this book, one of the Codex Alera series. How many books are there? There's 6 of these, maybe 6, maybe 4, maybe 5. 1, 2, 3. There are 6. There are 6. Yeah, Princeps' Fury is the second to last one. So yeah, I'm excited to read this. Anything that's inspired by ancient Rome is probably going to be, you know, A-okay in my book. I'm about to knock these books over. Next, Boosh! Kuchunk. Full Moon, Grave Peril, Summer Night. Whoa! All right, well, it fell. So this is book 2, 3, and 4 of the Dresden Files books. And again, I have the UK covers because 1, these covers are freaking awesome, and 2, the American paperback covers is freaking garbage. Like, it's trash. It's trash. So anyway, I read back in, I think, September, I read Stormfront. I have not read another Dresden File book since. I want to, but it is a huge commitment to start that series, and I want to be able to kind of like commit to it more than what I'm able to now, like 1 book every, you know, X amount of months. I'd like to be able to read 1 a month. So I'm hoping to start Dresden Files in force at least later this year, if not the beginning of next year, and read the entire thing. They are quick and easy reads. They are short. They're not super long. I know Full Moon is about werewolves, Grave Peril is about the undead, and Summer Night, who knows what it's about. But I know most people think that Full Moon is the worst of the books, so I'll get past that. It's fine. It's not going to turn me away from the series. I want to read the whole series because its problems don't bother me enough, and the books aren't long enough. Like, if its problems were existent in a 1,200-page book, I would not continue reading. But in a 300-page book, it's fine. Like, it's fine. I'll just move on and, you know, get to where everybody says the getting is good. I have heard that Toot Toot is in more than 1 book. I wish that was not the case. Jim Butcher, what are you doing? Why is a fairy named Toot Toot, and why is it like pizza? Who knows? But I definitely want to read more of the Dresden Files and see what all the hullabaloo is about. Next is the only nonfiction on this list, and that is this heavy book, Gladius, by Guy de la Bedouillere, something to that effect, Bedouillere. That's as close as I'm going to get. I looked it up and hopefully did it justice. But this is the world of the Roman soldier, and this book is written kind of from the perspective of what it was like to be a soldier in the Roman armies. He took letters home and writings from soldiers, graffiti from soldiers, and it just talks about like what it was like on the ground as a Roman soldier. So we got chapters like how soldiers were made, their pay, garrisons, the Roman army, ignominy and defeat, the Roman army's darkest days, the Roman war machine victorious, violence and atrocities, that'll be unpleasant. The Roman army at sea. Guys, I am more obsessed than a person should be about quinquiremes and triremes. Like, frickin' naval battles in that time are absolutely fascinating. Kingmakers for Sale, Mutineers and Rebels, a.k.a. the Praetorian freaking Guard. Peacetime Duties, what they did on leave, Veterans, and Religion and Superstition, and it's just freaking awesome. Like I've been looking for a book that was about the Roman army, just the army itself, for a long time, and this was gifted to me by my wonderful friend Kate for my birthday. Thank you so much, Kate, and I want to read this. I've just got to work it in soon. Next we have Boosh, Dead House Landing by Ian C. Esselmont. This is book 2 of the Paths to Ascendancy. Let me say it right before someone's like, well, actually, it's not that. Path, singular, to Ascendancy. So, this was gifted to me by the man, the myth, the legend, Klaus. His Grace Klaus, who has brilliant opinions. But this is book 2. I don't actually own book 1. I haven't read book 1, but I want to. I want to read The Path to Ascendancy. This is Esselmont's most recent series. It is no secret that I am not a fan of Esselmont's early books. Knight of Knives, I think, is garbage. It's a novella, but I think there's one good flashback. And Return of the Crimson Guard is not a good book. And, you know, like, Dr. Philip Chase, bless his heart, I hear him talking about it, and, you know, he talks about it with AP, and they talk about how, just what ICE was trying to do, and all these things, and I'm just like, did y'all read the same book as me? Like, what about the 500 middle pages that are boring? What about the terrible dialogue? Guys, I may not have said this in this, but you understand, in this book, there's this assassin that's trying to kill these people escaping from a castle. And he's trying to kill him. And he gets like blasted with magic. And he gets knocked back and they're running. Ha, 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 ha. And then he shows up like they thought he was dead from the magic. And he shows up and he says, where was I? Ah, yes, killing you. Guys, that is a literal line of dialogue from Return of the Crimson Guard. It's a literal line. That's not good dialogue. You know what dialogue that is? That is JRPG villain dialogue from like the PlayStation era or the 64 era. That's what kind of dialogue that is. It's not good. I don't like it. I mean, I think some cool things happen in it, but Return of the Crimson Guard was my least favorite book that I read last year, and I read ACOTAR last year. So I know supposedly Adult of Honor is going to come in and be like, well, it's my least favorite Malazan book, but that's still a 7.5. We fight about this all the time. It's common. But I have heard that, I'm going to read Stonewielder eventually, but I heard that these are much improved. First of all, it stars Dancer and Kellenred, which are 2 of my favorites. So I'll probably really like this book. I definitely want to read these. I want to keep reading the Malazan books that I haven't read. I've read the main 10 several times, except for 8, 9, and 10. And I have unpopular opinions there, and people are like, post your Malazan reviews. It's like, why? so I have people yell at me for my bad opinions. Just, you know, I've already had 4 people thumbs down me since I've been talking. But I'm hoping this book is good, because I like Dancer and Kellenred. Next, another gift from my wonderful friend Evie. This is Book of the New Sun. So it's broken into 2. It's by Gene Wolfe, Shadow and Claw, and then Sword and Citadel. So, I have heard that this is the most Byzantine fantasy book, where it is so in-depth and allegorical and filled with references that some dude literally published a chapter guide to the book, which Evie also sent me. So it's a companion, like, non-fiction guide to reading this. So you read a chapter and then you read it here, make sure catching all the references of what he's trying to do. I know it's about a torturer named Severius who, I guess, wanders around. I literally know nothing about what this book is about, other than that it is an incredibly storied book. Like, it is hailed as, I don't know, the ultimate fantasy book, maybe sci-fi, but I definitely want to read it. I don't actually know anybody who has read it in its completion yet. If you have, please let me know. But is it as complicated as they say it is? Is it worth giving it a try? I don't know, but I definitely want to read this, and I'm so thankful that Evie knows me and sent me the companion novel, so I don't have to be like, what's happening? What's happening in this book? I can just read this. Next we have Boosh Jade War by Fonda Lee. This is book 2 of the Green Bones saga. I think book 3 is being released in December. I read Jade War back in, I think, September again, and I just Didn't get around to Jade War yet. I liked Jade City, but I liked it, and I actually liked it a lot. I didn't love it, but I did like it a lot. I liked it better than most people. I don't like Hilo. I think Hilo's a dumb character. Again, unpopular opinion. I have heard that Jade War is even better than Jade City, so I do want to read this. I might just keep pulling a Michael Knipp and say that I'm going to read it and then just never read it. Michael Knipp theoretically has read this month. If he hasn't, make sure everyone goes over to his channel and comments about all the lies that he tells on his channel. So next we have Blackwing by Ed McDonald. This was sent to me by my wonderful friend Abby for my birthday, and I was also sent the UK version, which has a neat cover, by Liana, my nemesis. So this book is the first book of the Raven Cycle, I think. Raven's Claw? Not the Raven Cycle. Isn't that like a kid's book, a YA book? The Raven's Mark. I don't know what this is about. I think it's about a guy who can turn into a crow. I think it's about a bounty hunter who gets crow-like powers and uses it to fight evil. I don't know what this is about. It looks very weird. This looks very different than like the Roland Gunslinger Wild West cover. So if you've read Blackwing, tell me what it's about. I have to read it pretty soon for a project that I will be talking about come July. But yeah, I have been told by more than one person that I would like Blackwing. I know Leslie, I think, has read all of them, and Leanna has read all of them. And so if you've read it, let me know if you think that I would like Blackwing as well. All right, down to the last two. This one is The Game of Kings by Dorothy Dunnett, and this was sent to me by Klaus. Now, I have heard that this is one of the worst series of all time, and Klaus sent me this as a punishment because he wanted me to, on this channel, talk about how terrible the Lyman Chronicles, of which this is book 1 by Dorothy Dunnett, is. Everything I've heard is that Dorothy Dunnett is a terrible writer. Her prose is banal and uninspired. Her characters are one-dimensional and archetypal, and that the stories are plotting and lack pace. And so Klaus talks about on his channel all the time. He has a bunch of rant reviews about how terrible this series is, and I guess he wanted me to share in his misery. So, The Game of Kings. Next, we have Boosh, The Cage of Souls by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Guys, look at this cover. Just look at it. Oh my gosh, what a gorgeous cover. So this is another standalone by Tchaikovsky. If you've been paying attention on my channel, I just finished Guns of the Dawn by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It was my first book by him, and I loved it. I loved it. And so I desperately want to dig into another of Tchaikovsky's novels. Everyone tells me Children of Time is fantastic, but I saw this one about the sun. The sun is bloated, diseased, and dying, perhaps. So I'm just going to read the back of this one like I did for Guns of the Dawn. Beneath its baneful light, Shadrapar, last of all cities, harbors fewer than 100,000 human souls. It is a museum, a midden, an asylum, a prison on a world that is ever more alien to humanity. Bearing witness to the desperate struggle for existence between life old and new is Stefan Advani, rebel, outlaw, prisoner, survivor. This is his testament, an account of the journey that took him far beyond the city's reaches to the blazing desolation of the western deserts, down the river to the verdant hell of the jungle's darkest heart, and deep into the labyrinths and caverns of the underworld. He will meet with monsters, mutants, and madmen. The question is, which of them will inherit the earth? This sounds so freaking cool, and the cover is so amazing, and Tchaikovsky has not let me down yet. I've only read one, but I like it, and it's another standalone, so this is high on my priority list. Cage of Souls. All right, circling back, because I was totally just kidding. So Klaus sent me this because the Lyman Chronicles, of which this is the first one, is Klaus's absolutely favorite series of all time. He says nothing is ever going to top it. It is his favorite series, and I think Klaus is an extremely intelligent guy. I value his opinions. I love the way he talks about books, even about books that he doesn't like. I love the way he analyzes things. And so when that high of praise is being leveled at a series, I must needs investigate for myself. So this is historical fiction about a Scotsman who returns home and tries to save his reputation and his home. And I think there's 5 books in the Lyman Chronicles, and I think there's 5. I don't know, maybe not. But Klaus said that the last book, Checkmate, is the best book he's ever read. And so that is I mean, that's just high praise, and I want to get there. And I love historical fiction, and I don't know, like, I don't really know what these books are about, other than it's just like, it's political intrigue and, you know, political machinations and a guy named Lyman. Or Le Monde, I guess, is as he says. But I have heard they are fantastic. I really, really want to start reading this. I know there's a buddy read taking place in my Discord of this book in June with several people in the Discord, including Klaus, though I will not be able to participate in it just yet. So, if you have heard about this and you can back up Klaus' opinion, please let me know in the comments. I'll be able to tell if Klaus actually watched this whole video if he curses my name and doesn't retract it after I said this. So guys, that is it for me. That's this section of the book Howl. I will be back at some point with more of them, and I'll make it through all these books that I got lazy on the book hauls and didn't do any for forever, and then I accumulated too many bloody books. And so now I need to show you all the books so you guys can be like, ooh, that one, that one, that one, that one. Which ones of these have you read? Which ones of these should I prioritize? Which ones of these are freaking terrible and I shouldn't even worry about ever? Guys, as always, information about my Patreon and Discord is down in the description, and I'll see you next time, guys.